So in the month of June, I received 10 dividend payments from some awesome companies like Johnson & Johnson and Snap-on, and in this video, we're going to go through each of those payments and add them all up to reveal my total dividend income for the month, as well as my total income received so far in 2023. But before we get to all of that, in case you're new to the channel, my name is Ryan Williams, and I am on a mission to democratize dividend investing. I think this is something that literally anyone can do to start building passive income, and I want to help you do that. So if you're on a mission to retire early, then hit that subscribe button. I'd love to stay in touch as we both continue to grow our portfolios and collect that cash flow. Speaking of which, leave me a comment below and let me know which stocks paid you a dividend this month. I'd be curious to hear if we have any of the same ones. Anyway, moving on, the first dividend payment I received in June came from Intel, who paid me $7.88, a great way to kick off the month, and Intel has been on a run this last month, guys. They are up over 21% just in the last 30 days, which brings them to a year-to-date gain so far of near 25%. And I'll tell you what, if this company can just keep on going and cross the $40 per share mark, I will be one happy camper, because that will put me very close to my average cost. My average cost with Intel is $44.29, and I have just over 63 shares of this company, so that leaves me with a loss right now of about 25%. Intel is one of my portfolio's worst performing positions, but we are headed in the right direction, and I hope it keeps going. Anyway, moving on to the second payment I received in June. This one came from Jeppy, who'd paid me $8.07, which brings our total so far to just under $16. And many people have been getting concerned about Jeppy because so far this year, as we can see here, the monthly payments have been at a pretty steady decline. Month after month, it just seems to be trending down, but that's just one of the risks with investing in a fund that pays a variable dividend. There are bound to be times where the dividend payments kind of trickle down and aren't usually as high, but then the inverse of that is true as well, and hopefully at least the dividend payments will go back up and then they'll be higher than usual. But anyway, taking a quick look at my Jeppy position, I only have 22 shares of this ETF. I really don't have a big position, only about $1,300 invested, and my average cost is $60.22, so I am down about 9% with Jeppy, but the dividends I've received from owning this position have more than made up for the losses in share price. So on a total return basis, I'm still looking good. Anyway, next up, the third payment I received in June came from Southern Company, who paid me about $12.50, which brings my total for the month so far to $28.46. And Southern Company is such a boring company. There's really been nothing going on with it. So just taking a quick look at my position, I have just under 18 shares at an average cost right there about $60. And fortunately, my position is sitting pretty. I am up just about 19% with Southern Company. Anyway, quickly moving on to the next company. This one is Johnson & Johnson, who's blessed me with the biggest dividend payment so far in June, $26.71, bringing our total for the month to just over $55. And looking at the share price performance, Johnson & Johnson has been on a roll. They are up nearly 6% just in the last 30 days, really solid performance, but year to date, they are still down about 8%. And I've been adding pretty consistently to Johnson & Johnson as the share price has been fluctuating up and down throughout the year. If we take a look at my tranches just here in 2023, it looks like there were 1, 2, 3, 4, about 8 different times I added to Johnson & Johnson. And in total, it looks like maybe I've added 4 to 5 shares between all these different tranches. And then taking a look at my overall J&J position, I have about 22.5 shares at an average cost that's right about where the current share price is, $163.61. And as you can see there, I'm just barely breaking even on this position. I'm only up 0.14%, nothing too crazy. Anyway, next up is Snap-on, one of my favorite high growth dividend stocks, who also paid a pretty sweet dividend, about $14.50, which brings my total for the month to just under $70. And Snap-on just always seems to go up in share price, guys. I would love it if it came back down so I could pick up some more shares, but that is not the case with this company. In the last month, they are up 8.4% basically, and year to date, they are up a whopping 21%. So they have been on a roll. And then in the last year, so the last 365 days, they are up exactly 36%. And as I'm sure you can imagine, this is going to leave me with a pretty nice gain with Snap-on. I'm up over 31%, so it's doing really well. And as I've said, I'd love to see this come back down more in share price so I could pick up some more shares at a lower valuation. I think this is a really great company, and I'd love to make it a bigger percentage of my portfolio, but it's got to come down in share price first. Anyway, moving on, the next payment I received came from Chevron, who paid me a sweet $20, bringing my total for the month to $89.75. And Chevron is flat, completely flat in the last month. They are exactly 0% gain, but year to date, they are actually in the red. They're down about 11%, so not too great a performance for Chevron this year. But Chevron is still the best performing position in my portfolio. I'm up over 65%, which is pretty wild, but it's still not a huge position of mine. I only have about 13.25 shares of Chevron at an average cost of $93.54. Anyway, this brings us to the seventh payment I received in June, which came from 3M, who paid me $17.86, officially putting us over $100 for the month, $107.61 to be exact. And there's been some recent development with 3M regarding their Forever Chemicals lawsuit, where it looks like they reached a $10 billion settlement that is payable over 13 years, which could be good news, but is still only a portion of their ongoing legal issues, which as a whole have some understandably concerned about the safety of the dividend. But for now, that dividend is still intact and 3M can still keep hold of their Dividend King status and 64-year growth streak, which is pretty impressive. And then taking a quick look at my 3M position, I only have 11.9 shares for this company, so once again, not a big position of mine at all, and my average cost is $165.43, and this is by far my portfolio's worst performing position, both in terms of dollars lost and percentage lost. I'm down about $775 on 3M, which represents a 39% loss, so it's really not doing good at all. And on that note, I know a lot of you guys out there are 3M shareholders, and I'm curious, what have you guys done with this position? Are you buying more at these discounted prices? Are you just continuing to hold and collect that dividend like I'm doing for now? Or have you sold out of 3M and moved on to maybe greener pastures? Let me know that in the comments below. I'm curious to hear what you guys are doing with this company. But anyway, moving on to the next payment, this one came from Owl Rock Capital Corporation, who paid me $6.92, which was a special dividend that they started paying every quarter. And this brings my total for the month so far to $114.53. And Owl Rock actually recently announced that they'll be rebranding and changing their name and ticker symbol as a result of some internal conflict amongst the founders, which is never a good thing, so we'll want to keep an eye on that. But otherwise, Owl Rock has been on a tear this year. Nothing much going on in the last month. They're only up about 1%, but year to date, they are up 13.7%, so they've been doing really well in 2023. And looking at my position, I have 115.4 shares of Owl Rock, which may make it seem like it's a big position of mine, but it's really not because the share price is super low, only $13.50, so this is still a relatively small position in my portfolio despite the larger number of shares. And I'm about breaking even with Owl Rock on a share price return basis. I'm only down 0.8%, and I've more than made up for that with the dividends received from this company. Anyway, moving on to the next payment, this one came from Realty Income, the monthly dividend company, who paid me $9.46, bringing my total for the month to just a penny shy of $124. And now may not be a bad time to swoop up some more shares of Realty Income, as they are currently under $60 per share, which I know is about where a lot of you guys like to start buying into this company. And then in the last month, they are up about 2%, but year to date, they are still down 6.3%. So once again, could be a decent buying opportunity. In fact, for the first time in a long time, I actually picked up some more shares of Realty Income. It'd been at least a year since I added any more to this position, but I bought 3 shares at exactly $60 per share, which brings my total number of shares to just over 40. And I still have an average cost of $56.83. So I'm up just a little bit, up about 5%. Nothing too crazy. And I might even continue adding some more shares here and there. We'll see what happens. But anyway, guys, this brings us to the last dividend payment I received in June, which came from Main Street Capital Corporation, who paid me $8.84. And just showing you my position real quick before we get to the totals, I have about 39.25 shares of Main Street Capital Corporation at an average cost that's pretty close to the current share price. I'm only down about 0.4%, so this position's pretty much breaking even. But anyway, with this Main Street dividend, that brings my total for the month of June to $132.83, which is actually about 8% lower than my dividend income from this time last year, where I brought in $144.19. And the reason for this is because between then and now, I sold out of a couple positions like XYLD and Lockheed Martin that pay in the month of June, so I didn't have the income from those. Plus, my Intel payment this month was considerably lower than this time last year, which also contributed to the lower monthly total. But anyway, this brings me to a year-to-date total of $984.70, which is still about 19% above my income for the first 6 months of 2022, where I only brought in $828.47. And so now that we've taken a look at all of my dividend payments from this last month, I want to switch gears and show you which companies are going to be paying me in this upcoming month here in July. And to do this, we are going to be using the payout calendar tool on the dividendtracker.com, and you can start using the dividend tracker for free. There is a link to it in the description of this video. I think you should check it out. It's a really great platform that I think you'll enjoy. But anyway, July looks like it's going to be a pretty hefty month of dividends. We've got some really big payments coming in from Altree Group, who's going to be paying nearly $50, Owl Rock Capital Corporation, who's going to be paying their regular dividend. Remember, this month in June, it was just a special one, so the real one's coming in July. That'll be about $40. KRC is also going to be paying a nice dividend, near $40. It says AT&T is going to be paying a dividend in July, but I don't know if that's actually going to be the case, because both AT&T and Verizon typically pay on the same day, and for the regular schedule, they would be paying, I believe, on August 1st, so I don't know if we'll actually be getting a dividend payment from AT&T in July. We'll see what happens. But anyway, WP Carey is going to be paying a nice dividend, near $24, Coca-Cola, Realty Income, Main Street, all between $9 and $10. Then we've got one from Jeppy here, about $8. But anyway, scrolling down, this has my total for the month at just about $214, which is going to be really nice if that's actually the case. But once again, I don't know if this is actually going to happen, because this AT&T payment payment. I would be surprised if they're actually paying it in July. I could be wrong, but we'll just have to see. And taking a look at the weekly breakdown for July, the first week, the 3rd to the 9th, is not going to be anything too crazy. We've just got JetB and Coca-Cola, should be about $20 in total between the two. This next week, though, is going to be insane. The 10th to the 16th, we've got a lot of heavy hitters. We've got KRC, Main Street, Realty Income, Owl Rock, WP Carey, and Altria Group, and that should be about $167 in total just for that week, and we can see that right here. We've got some really big days. We've got a near $50 day on the 10th, a near $40 day on the 12th, and then a whopping $81 coming in on the 14th. This might actually be my biggest day of dividends ever. That's going to be insane. And with that, guys, if you're in the market for some cheap dividend stocks, then check out this next video right over here, where I'm telling you about 3 deeply discounted stocks, all of which look like great pickups in the month of July. So click right over here to check them out, and I'll see you in the next one.